We never intended to live in that house forever. It was supposed to be a temporary solution, the cheapest rental we could find on short notice. Tucked away at the end of a quiet suburban street, my wife, Anna, loved that it had a wide backyard for our daughter to play in someday. For me, it was just about staying afloat. And then lockdown happened. Suddenly, we were sealed inside a house we barely knew, our everyday routines compressed behind closed doors. At first, it was almost comforting to have nowhere to go. We cooked together, laughed over amateurish baking attempts, binge-watched old sitcoms on the battered TV in the living room. The world outside felt distant, unreal. We thought we were safe. After a few weeks, we began rearranging the basement for more storage. That's when Anna noticed it, the faint outline of a square on the concrete wall, hidden behind the stacked boxes of holiday decorations we'd never unpacked. She thought it was a trick of the light. I thought maybe it was an old repair job, but it nagged at me. The edges looked too clean, too straight. One afternoon, curiosity got the better of us. We dragged the boxes aside, exposing that peculiar outline in full. When I tapped on the concrete, it sounded hollow. The hair on my arms lifted, like something was responding from the other side. Anna stayed a few steps back while I grabbed a small hammer and chipped away. Bits of plaster crumbled, revealing what looked like a wooden panel. I remember Anna murmuring, "We should stop. It's probably sealed for a reason," but I couldn't let it go. A hidden chamber, a secret room. Who wouldn't want to know what was inside? So I pried more plaster loose. Eventually, we found a makeshift door. No hinge or knob, just a slab of wood wedged into place. The edges were sealed with a dark, brittle caulk. It must have been done a long time ago. I found a crowbar in the garage and pried it into the seams, my shoulders straining with each pull. The seal cracked, releasing a stale wave of air that smelled of mildew and something sour, like wet leaves left to rot in the dark. Anna gagged. Her eyes darted from me to that shadowy gap. With one final push, the wood splintered inward. We stood there, blinking at the blackness beyond. The flashlight on my phone wasn't strong, but enough to reveal a cramped, claustrophobic space about 6 feet deep and maybe 4 feet wide. The walls were rough, unpainted cement. There was an old cot in the corner, the mattress sagging with mold. 2 dusty chairs stood around a small table, and a metal bucket that made my stomach lurch when I realized what it must have been used for. Anna whispered, "This doesn't feel right. Let's call the landlord." "Let's look around first," I said, stepping inside. The floor was gritty under my sneakers. A dangling light bulb above me flickered when I reached up to pull the chain. Amazingly, there was still electricity. The pale glow revealed more details and made everything look much worse. There were heavy chains bolted to the wall, about waist height, with dirty, frayed cuffs at the ends. An old trunk rested near the cot. I stooped down, my heart thudding in my ears, and flipped it open. Inside were musty blankets, a few battered notebooks, and a small stack of videotapes. I held one up. It was labeled in thick black marker. Day 3. The rest had similar labels. Day 10. Day 27. The numbers scrawled unevenly. Anna hovered over my shoulder, anxiety carving lines across her forehead. I rummaged deeper, discovering an old camcorder, the type that used cassette tapes. It looked decades old, the plastic housing chipped, but the battery light blinked faintly. My breath caught when I found a photograph among the tapes. A teenage girl, maybe 13 or 14, her hair in messy braids. She looked frightened. Behind her, the same walls we stood between, the same chain attached to her wrist. My hands shook. When I locked eyes with Anna, I saw my own horror reflected back. We should have stopped, called the police, but fear and morbid curiosity guided us. I clicked the camcorder on, slid in a tape at random, and hit play. The whir of old mechanics gave way to static, then an image. The basement room. That same girl from the photo sat on the cot, hugging her knees. She was trembling, tears streaking her dirty cheeks. A deep voice off camera hissed, "You think you can run?" The girl just shook her head, whispering, "Please, let me go." Then a shadow moved across the screen. The tape cut out abruptly. I felt my throat tighten. Anna clutched my arm, as if grounding herself. Everything inside me said this was real, some monstrous captivity. The basement felt too small, the walls closing in. My mind raced with questions. Who was she? How long ago was this? Did she escape? That night, neither of us slept. My dreams were full of that girl's tear-streaked face, the echoes of her sobs drifting through the darkness. At around 2:00 a.m., I startled awake to a noise, a faint metallic rattle. I nudged Anna, who was half dozing in a chair we'd pulled into the bedroom. We listened, hearts pounding, as it repeated, clink, clink, like chains brushing against the wall. I'm calling the cops," Anna said, her voice quivering. She grabbed her phone, but the line beeped. No signal. The night felt endless, every creak of the house magnified tenfold by our nerves. At one point, I mustered the courage to tiptoe downstairs. The basement door was open, though I swore I'd locked it. When I aimed my flashlight down the steps, the darkness looked almost alive. A chill skittered over my skin, and I retreated back upstairs. By morning, the terror felt slightly more distant in the gray light of day, as though a bad dream had tested our imaginations. But then Anna noticed footprints in the dust near the basement door. Large, heavy footprints that certainly weren't ours. Those prints led from the hallway to the door, and then vanished. That was enough. We rushed upstairs and called 911 from the landline. This time, it rang through. An officer eventually arrived, though it took him nearly 30 minutes to respond. I showed him the hidden room, the tapes, even the destroyed camera. He examined everything with a tense frown, but insisted it might be leftover evidence from a previous tenant. He looked around, shrugged, said the police would do a report, and told us to lock up. He left unconvinced of any immediate threat. Anna was furious, but mostly terrified. We tried to get some rest, but an hour later, the house felt wrong again. The air turned stifling, heavy with that sour odor from the hidden room. The upstairs hallway seemed darker than usual, and I kept thinking I saw a flicker of movement in my peripheral vision. A shape darting across the mirror, or a face peeking around the corner. Then the scratching returned, louder now, as though it was inside the walls. Anna clung to me, her nails digging into my arm. My own heart thundered so loudly, I could barely think. We grabbed only our essentials and bolted from the house, not caring if we left half our belongings behind. We never went back. In hushed tones, I explained we'd discovered something horrifying. Sometimes, in my dreams, I see that girl again, and in those darkest moments before dawn, I swear I hear the clink of chains, faint, yet unmistakable, like a ghastly reminder that no matter how far we've run, some horrors never really let you go. The lockdown should have been boring, should have been quiet, but it wasn't. Not when people started disappearing. It began as small talk between neighbors. More time spent at home and more interaction with people we usually ignored. For the first time in years, I actually got to know the folks in my apartment building. That's how I met Mr. Langley. He lived in apartment 403 just across the hall from mine. Quiet, polite, and unremarkable. The kind of man you'd pass 1,000 times and never think twice about. But I started to notice things. Odd things. The scraping noises at night. The strange smell coming from under his door. The way he always seemed to be carrying something heavy in his duffel bag. And then, the missing people. I should have minded my own business. I should have ignored it, but I didn't. And now, I don't know if I'll get out of this alive. The first thing I noticed about Mr. Langley was that he never left his apartment during the day. At first, I thought he worked nights, but he wasn't dressed like someone going to a job. His clothes were plain, always the same neutral colors, and he always wore gloves. That alone wouldn't have been weird. But then came the packages. Langley got deliveries. Big ones. Heavy-duty storage containers. Plastic sheeting. Industrial strength cleaning supplies. "You remodeling?" I asked once, joking. He looked at me with a blank stare, then smiled. A slow, practiced movement of his lips. "Just some personal projects," he said. Then he closed the door. Fast. A week into the lockdown, Mrs. Conway went missing. She was a sweet old lady who lived in 405. The kind who baked cookies and left them outside people's doors. One day, her newspapers started piling up. I knocked. No answer. The landlord eventually opened the apartment. She was gone. The landlord eventually opened the apartment. She was gone. Everything left untouched. Like she had just vanished. "Weird," I muttered. Langley was watching from his doorway. I looked at him. "Did you hear anything?" He shook his head, but I could have sworn. For just a second, he smiled. It started a few nights later. A thick, rotten odor seeping under Langley's door. It was the kind of smell that made your stomach twist, like something damp and rotting, soaking into the walls. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. Night, I knocked on his door. He answered almost immediately. The smell hit me like a brick. "Hey, something died in there." I half joked, trying to ignore the way his eyes didn't quite blink at the same time. "Cleaning chemicals," he said. His voice was calm, controlled. Behind him, I saw a blue tarp covering something large. My skin prickled. "Right. Well, maybe crack a window?" He didn't respond. He just shut the door. It was around midnight when I heard a dragging sound. I peeked out. Langley was lugging a heavy trash bag down the hall. The kind that bulges in the middle. The kind that could easily fit a body. I waited until he was gone. Then I slipped out and opened the bag. Inside, cassette tapes, dozens of them. Labeled, dates and names. Mrs. Conway's name was on one. My hands were shaking as I grabbed one and ran back to my apartment. I found an old tape player and pressed play. Static. Then, a voice. "Please," it whispered. "Please, let me go." My stomach dropped. A soft chuckle. Langley's voice. "You're going to tell me everything now." Then, a wet, horrible sound, like something sharp cutting into meat. I slammed the stop button, my pulse pounding in my ears. I had to get out. I grabbed my keys and ran for the door, but it wouldn't open. I twisted the knob, yanking, but it was jammed. Then, knock, knock. I turned. Langley stood outside my door. His gloved hands were calmly adjusting his sleeves. He smiled, just a little. "You took something that doesn't belong to you," he murmured. I backed away. The tape was still in my hand. "Give it back," he said. His voice was soft, almost kind. I did the only thing I could. I threw the tape at his face and ran. I didn't stop running until I was outside the building. The second I hit the street, I called 911. Cops came. They broke down his door, but Langley was gone. His apartment, empty, spotless, like no one had ever lived there. No tapes, no tarp, no evidence. Just one thing left behind, a note. It was taped to my door when I got back. Just 3 words, "See you soon." That was 3 months ago. I moved, changed numbers, tried to forget. But sometimes, late at night, I hear knocking. Soft, slow knock, knock, knock. When I check my door, there's no one there. Just the smell. That thick, rotten smell. Like something damp and rotting. Like something soaking into the walls. Like something that's never really gone. The blueprint, the lockdown felt endless. At first, it was just an inconvenience. Grocery trips became impossible. Deliveries were delayed, and the whole city seemed to be asleep. But then the unease set in. It wasn't the isolation that got to us. It was the realization that we were trapped inside this building, and someone was planning something terrible. It started with the noises at night. Faint scraping sounds in the hallways. The occasional soft knock on a door when no one was there. At first, we blamed the pipes, the wind, our own paranoia. Then we found the blueprint, and everything changed. The lockdown had forced us neighbors to talk more. Before, we had passed each other in the halls without a second glance. Now, we relied on each other. There were 6 of us. Me, Ethan, Claire, single mom, apartment 12. Miguel, used to work in it, apartment 3. Lena and Jake, married couple, apartment 4. Mr. Hendricks, old man, rarely spoke, apartment 5B. And then there was apartment 6. Ever saw who lived there. It had been silent for months. No lights, no sounds, just a cold, empty door at the end of the hall. Until one night, that door was open. We all noticed it around the same time. I was taking out the trash when Claire whispered, "Ethan, look." 6F's door was ajar. Miguel frowned. Didn't the landlord say that place was vacant? Maybe squatters. Jake suggested. Lena shivered. We should close it. It's creeping me out. But Miguel hesitated. What if someone's inside? What if they need help? We stood there, the hallway colder than usual. Then Mr. Hendricks did something unexpected. Without a word, the old man pushed the door open all the way. And inside, we saw the blueprint. The apartment was stripped bare. No furniture, no signs of life. Just a single table in the middle of the room. And on that table, a massive hand-drawn blueprint of the building. Every apartment was labeled. Scribbled notes covered the margins. Weak locks. Easy access, next to Claire's unit. Avoid. Too risky, next to mine. Keep an eye on them, pointing at Miguel's. Then, near the bottom of the page, underlined 3 times. The final night, 3 a.m. Claire took a step back. What the hell is this? Jake ran a hand through his hair. Some kind of burglary plan. Miguel shook his head. No, this is more than that. Someone's been watching us, studying us. Lena let out a sharp breath. We need to call the cops. I reached for my phone. No signal. We all checked. No one had service. Then from somewhere inside the dark apartment, a floorboard creaked. We froze. Claire gasped. There's someone in here. Miguel grabbed a lamp from the table, raising it like a weapon. Jake pulled Lena back toward the door, and then we heard it. A soft, rasping breath, coming from the closet. Miguel reached for the handle, and yanked it open. Nothing. Just an old coat and dust. We were about to leave when Mr. Hendricks knelt down, staring at something near the closet's edge. What is it? I asked. The old man touched the wall, and then he pushed. The entire closet wall slid open. Behind it, a hidden passage. The passage was narrow, cold, and wrong. The walls were lined with holes, small peephole-sized openings that faced into our apartments. We could see into our own homes. Claire clamped a hand over her mouth. Jesus Christ. Lena grabbed Jake's arm. Someone's been watching us. Miguel's breath was unsteady. Not just watching, planning. I took a step inside. The air smelled like rotting wood and something metallic. Further in, there was a makeshift sleeping area. A dirty mattress. A pile of photos. I picked one up, then dropped it immediately. It was a picture of me, taken from inside my apartment. From the inside, we scrambled back into the hallway. Ceiling 6F shut. We need to leave, Claire whispered. Now. But then, from below us, the sound of an apartment door unlocking, and slow, deliberate footsteps coming up the stairwell. Miguel peeked over the railing, his face drained of color. Someone's coming. Lena let out a broken sob. Who? The person who lives in 6F? Claire shook her head. No, I don't think they ever left. We turned to her. She was staring at Mr. Hendricks. The old man smiled. The realization hit too late. Mr. Hendricks had led us here. He had opened the closet. He had found the passage. And now he was blocking the exit. Miguel lunged first, trying to push past him. But Hendricks moved fast. Too fast. He yanked something from his coat. A scalpel. Miguel screamed. Jake tackled Hendricks, slamming him into the table. The blueprint crumpled beneath them. Claire grabbed Miguel, pulling him toward the hall. I was about to follow, when Hendricks whispered something. His voice slid under my skin like ice. "You think this ends tonight?" He smiled. "This was just a test run." We ran, burst out of the building, found service, called 911. The cops stormed the place within minutes. But Hendricks? Gone. His apartment was empty. The blueprints, the passage, the sleeping area, wiped clean, like none of it had ever been there. That was 2 months ago. I moved. So did Claire and Miguel. None of us stayed, but I can't stop thinking about it. About the photos, about the words, "Final night, 3 a.m., about Hendricks whispering. This was just a test run, and about the last thing the cops found, tucked neatly under my apartment door. A new blueprint, with a date, next week, and one note beneath my name. See you soon. The lockdown started off feeling like a strange, extended weekend. At first, everyone in my apartment building treated it like a break, cooking elaborate meals, binge-watching shows, posting updates online. But as the weeks dragged on, something shifted in our apartment building. It became too quiet. People stopped coming out. The usual sounds of life, footsteps in the hallway, muffled laughter, the clinking of dishes, faded into silence. And then, Lena from 6AA disappeared. She was just a college student, quiet, mostly kept to herself. I didn't know her well. None of us did. But once she was gone, I started noticing things. The faint scratching noises in the vents. The faint scratching noises in the vents, the way the hallway lights flickered at odd hours. The unsettling fact that, every night, someone walked past my door, but never seemed to leave. I should have ignored it. I should have minded my own business, but it was too late for that. I first realized something was wrong when I heard a phone ringing. It was day 8 of the lockdown. I was heading back to my apartment after grabbing my mail when I passed by Lena's door. Her phone was buzzing from inside. That shouldn't have been weird. Except, she hadn't answered her messages in days. I hesitated, then knocked. "Lena?" Silence. I knocked again, harder. The phone stopped ringing. A sudden, sharp thud sounded from inside. I took a step back. That was the first time I felt it. That something in our building was watching. By the 10th day, the building had developed an awful smell. It started faint, a sour, rotting stench, barely noticeable in the hallway. By day 11, it was unbearable. I ran into Mr. Howard from 5-Sec, a retired veteran, on my way up the stairs. He was frowning, sniffing the air. "You smell that?" he asked. I nodded. "Coming from upstairs, I think." He pointed toward the 6th floor. That girl's place. The idea made my stomach turn. Mr. Howard muttered something under his breath. Then he added, "I knocked yesterday. No answer." That made 2 of us. We exchanged uneasy glances but said nothing more. Because what could we do? That night, I heard the dragging. It was late, maybe 2 a.m. I was lying in bed, half asleep, when I heard it. A slow, scraping noise from above, like someone pulling something heavy across the floor. I sat up, heart hammering. It lasted 5 minutes. Then silence. I told myself it was nothing. Just my mind playing tricks. But in the morning, when I went to check the mail, I saw something that stopped me cold. A single dark stain on the hallway carpet, leading from Lena's door, leading toward apartment 6. Mr. Daniels' apartment. Mr. Daniels had always been odd, lived alone, kept to himself. rarely spoke to anyone. But recently he had changed. I started seeing him more. In the hallway, by the mailboxes, just standing outside his door watching. And then one evening, I caught him doing something that made my blood run cold. I was heading to the laundry room when I passed by his door. It was open just a crack. And inside, he was watching something on his laptop. The sound was muted, but I saw it clear as day. A video feed. The angle was strange, distorted. Then it hit me. He was watching someone inside their apartment. He was watching Lena. I didn't sleep that night. Something was happening in this building. I had to know the truth. So the next day, I knocked on Daniel's door. Nothing. I knocked again, harder. "Mr. Daniels? You there?" No answer. I reached for the doorknob. It turned. The door swung open, and I stepped inside. The smell was worse inside. Thick, rotting. The apartment was strangely empty. No decorations, no personal belongings. Just a single table, a chair, and a laptop. The laptop screen was open to a paused video. I stepped closer, and my stomach dropped. It was Lena's apartment. From inside her vent, Daniels had been watching her. I turned. That's when I saw it. The large black plastic bin in the corner of the room, lid slightly open, and inside, a pale, unmoving hand. I ran. Didn't stop until I reached my apartment, slammed the door shut, locked it. I called 911. The cops came. They stormed Daniel's place. But he was gone. The plastic bin, empty. The laptop, wiped clean, like none of it had ever happened. I moved out the next day. But the nightmare wasn't over. 3 weeks later, I got a letter. No return address. Inside was a single Polaroid. Lena, standing outside my new apartment. Her face wasn't right. Her eyes, too wide. Her mouth, stitched shut. And on the back, written in shaky handwriting, "You look too closely." The lockdown was supposed to keep us safe. The world outside had become dangerous. Hospitals were filling up, stores were empty, and everyone was locking themselves inside their homes. Our house became our fortress, a sealed-off sanctuary, but we weren't alone. We never had been. I still replay that night over and over, trying to figure out how we didn't notice it sooner. The signs were there, the misplaced items, the whispers in the vents, the food that seemed to disappear faster than we ate it. And then came the night it happened, the footsteps that weren't ours, the breath just behind us, the intruder in our home. It started with small things. I'd wake up to find the pantry door slightly open, even though I knew I'd closed it the night before. Chairs at the dining table would be shifted just slightly out of place. The air in the house felt off, like someone had been moving through it when we weren't looking. Then, one morning, my 6-year-old daughter, Sophie, said something that made my stomach drop. "Mommy, the man in the attic was watching me sleep." I forced a laugh. "What man, sweetheart?" She looked up from her cereal, her little face pale. "He doesn't like when you laugh at him." A chill crawled up my spine. That night, I locked every door, every window. Mark, my husband, rolled his eyes. "She's having nightmares." But I didn't believe him. At 2:47 a.m., I woke up to shuffling footsteps, not outside, inside. A slow, deliberate creak of the floorboards in the hallway just outside our bedroom. I held my breath. The sound stopped. Then, a soft knock. My body froze. Mark sat up beside me, whispering, "Did you hear that?" Before I could answer, the doorknob twisted. Mark lunged out of bed, throwing himself against the door. He shouted, "Silence!" Then, footsteps retreating. Slow, measured, as if whoever was out there wanted us to know they were leaving. Mark threw the door open. The hallway was empty. Nothing. No one. But as I turned to check Sophie's room, my stomach dropped. Her bedroom door was wide open, and she wasn't in her bed. We searched the house frantically, Mark checked the windows, all locked from the inside. No forced entry. I ran to the front door, still bolted shut. Sophie wasn't in the bathroom, the living room, the basement. Then, from above us, a soft thump. My head snapped toward the ceiling. The attic. Mark grabbed the nearest object, a fireplace poker, and yanked the attic ladder down. A rush of hot, stale air poured out. Something moved up there. A shuffle, a whisper, then, "Mommy," Sophie's voice. Mark climbed first. I followed, my breath caught in my throat. The attic was pitch black. The air was thick with the scent of dust and something else. Something sour, rotting. I saw her small figure in the corner, crouched, shaking. I rushed to her, pulling her close. "Baby, what happened? How did you get up here?" She was sobbing, her little hands clutching at my shirt. "He told me to be quiet. He said he would hurt you if I made noise." Behind me, Mark's sharp intake of breath made my stomach lurch. Then, his voice, low, shaking. "Oh my God." I turned, and I saw it. In the farthest corner of the attic, beneath piles of insulation and old boxes, was a makeshift nest. A pile of dirty blankets, empty food wrappers, a half-eaten sandwich, moldy and congealed. And the worst part, photos of us, of me sleeping, of Sophie playing in the backyard, of Mark brushing his teeth, taken from inside the house, my body locked up. We weren't alone. We had never been alone. Then, from the darkness, a sound, a wheezy, rasping breath, and a whisper. "You weren't supposed to find me." Mark yanked me and Sophie down the attic ladder. We ran, slamming the door shut, bolting it, but the footsteps followed. Heavy, fast, thump, thump, thump. Something was chasing us. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking. 911. The operator answered just as the attic door slammed open behind us. "Please," I screamed. "There's someone in our house." Then, the line went dead. A shadow moved at the end of the hallway. A shape, tall, thin, hunched. His face was wrong. Hunched. His face was wrong. Too pale, too stretched, like he had been smiling too long. He lurched forward. Mark swung the fireplace poker. A sickening crack. Then, silence. The police arrived minutes later. But by the time they searched the house, he was gone. Only the attic nest remained. And a note, taped to the inside of Sophie's closet. It read, "I'll be back when you're asleep." We left the house that night. We never went back. It's been 2 years. We moved. Changed numbers. We don't talk about what happened. But sometimes, late at night, I wake up to a noise. A soft knock. A faint creak in the ceiling above me. And I know, he found us. But now, there's something even worse. Strange things have been happening outside our new home. A half-eaten sandwich was left on our porch one morning, just like the one we found in the attic. A pile of dirty blankets was stuffed into our outdoor trash bin, even though we never put them there. Last week, I woke up in the middle of the night and saw a shadow standing just outside our bedroom window. I shook Mark awake, but by the time he looked, it was gone. The next morning, there was a single footprint in the flower bed beneath the window. I don't think he ever left. I think he's been watching, waiting, and every night, I stay awake, listening, wondering if tonight is the night he finally comes inside.